Welcome to this explainer. The intersection of globalized Asian entertainment and Southeast Asian garment production has created a highly visible media narrative lately. As South Korean pop music cements its influence across global culture, the distinct styling choices of its performers are drawing unprecedented attention to independent designers in Vietnam. But parsing the commercial reality of a burgeoning creative sector from the fleeting nature of social media attention, that requires rigorous examination. This explainer analyzes the available macroeconomic data and business models to figure out if the sudden international prominence of Vietnamese fashion brands represents a permanent structural transformation of the local industry or primarily just an acceleration of momentary visibility.
So, the central analytical question for this investigation is exactly this. Is K-pop visibility producing durable international commercial development for Vietnamese-owned fashion labels, or merely accelerating visibility within a much larger manufacturing-led apparel economy? A viral moment on a global stage provides massive exposure, for sure, but converting that exposure into lasting commercial equity is an entirely separate endeavor. To answer this objectively, it's absolutely essential to establish an investigative framework that strictly separates viral media moments and single-event celebrity endorsements from concrete macroeconomic data and verifiable business scaling.
To do that, the agenda for this analysis covers 5 key areas. 1. The global visibility phenomenon. 2. The manufacturing base. 3. 4 distinct business models. 4. Measuring commercial impact. And 5. Constraints and future indicators. This framework provides an objective investigation into supply chains and business models rather than just a promotional fashion compilation.
Starting with Section 1, the global visibility phenomenon.
Now, the undeniable trend of international celebrities wearing Vietnamese labels on a global stage is well documented. The K-pop amplification system is powerful, right? It acts as a highly visible, almost instantaneous discovery channel for millions of fans. However, independent verification reveals that Vietnamese couture placements actually predate the current Gen Z K-pop wave. Back in 2019, verified custom designs by established designer Công Trí were worn by high-profile international figures, including Michelle Obama and Beyoncé. The timeline then accelerates and shifts demographically, showing members of Blackpink and aespa wearing modified contemporary pieces starting around 2021 and continuing through 2024 with viral moments featuring younger labels like Fanci Club and El Sol. The visibility is a confirmed fact, but its origins are quite diverse, spanning both traditional red carpet couture and avant-garde pop performance styling. You might be wondering how this styling pipeline actually works. Well, it typically operates in 3 distinct steps. Stylists first discover distinctive brands via social media algorithms or international PR showrooms. Next, garments are pulled, often in really large volumes, for music videos or global arena tours. Finally, stylists heavily modify the original designs. They frequently deconstruct dresses, alter hemlines, and reinforce fabrics just to accommodate complex, high-intensity choreography and specific stage lighting. This illustrates a really crucial point. Heavy garment modification and single-event usage mean that a celebrity appearance does not automatically equate to a formal brand endorsement or an ongoing ambassadorship. The garments are essentially serving as raw materials for a production company's much larger visual strategy.
Moving right along to Section 2, the manufacturing base.
Look at these numbers. Official data released by the Vietnam Textile and Apparel Association shows that textile and garment exports reached $22.2 billion in just the first half of 2024 alone. That figure is absolutely staggering. It solidifies the nation's position as one of the top apparel exporters globally, churning out vast quantities of fast fashion, sportswear, and ready-to-wear garments from major international retailers. This really establishes the massive scale of the manufacturing base, which operates alongside rather than being replaced by the emerging independent design sector. The wider economy is fundamentally built on massive volume and industrial efficiency.
However, beneath those multi-billion-dollar export figures is a deep structural dependency. Industry estimates reveal that 60 to 70% of sector inputs are actually imported raw materials, leaving only about 35% as domestic inputs. This data demonstrates the serious vulnerability of the supply chain. Because the majority of fabrics, threads, and hardware have to be sourced externally, local manufacturers face squeezed profit margins and are highly susceptible to global shipping bottlenecks and external economic shocks. It highlights the limits of domestic value capture within the wider manufacturing economy, considering a significant portion of revenue must immediately be spent on importing the very materials needed for production.
This contrast completely underscores the economic reality on the ground. On one side, there's the contract manufacturing base, often operating under original equipment manufacturing models. This base is vast, making up 7,000 enterprises and 3 million workers, driving toward a massive $48 billion annual export target. These factories have state support, sophisticated logistics, and immense infrastructure. Then, on the other side, is the original design ecosystem, comprised almost entirely of micro and small enterprises. These independent labels are the ones capturing immense global visibility through celebrity styling, but structurally speaking, they represent a comparatively small, under-resourced fraction of the nation's total apparel economy.
Which leads directly into Section 3, 4 distinct business models.
When evaluating prominent Vietnamese labels, it's necessary to treat them as entirely separate business categories to prevent false equivalence. Methodically comparing these 4 principal case studies reveals vastly different infrastructure models. For example, Công Trí operates as an established couture and luxury house with global showrooms, serving high-end private clients with a workforce of over 150 artisans dedicated to slow, meticulous construction. Then you have Fanci Club, which sits in the premium contemporary space, driving business-to-business wholesale by fulfilling bulk seasonal orders to global stockists. On the other hand, LSL focuses on accessible, direct-to-consumer contemporary wear, leveraging fast turnaround times and currently expanding its physical retail footprint into adjacent Asian markets like Bangkok. Finally, Lune functions as an avant-garde experimental studio, utilizing 3D printing and unconventional materials for highly niche, made-to-order pieces. A legacy couture house utilizing traditional craftsmanship simply cannot be measured by the same commercial standard or growth metrics as a direct-to-consumer brand relying on viral social media marketing.
Shifting gears to Section 4, measuring commercial impact.
When assessing the immediate commercial impact of a celebrity placement, specific metrics are often cited by the brands themselves. Take this example. LSL reported receiving over 2,000 orders for a single skirt within 15 minutes after it was worn by Blackpink's Jennie. Now, it is necessary to explicitly caution that this is company-attributed data and lacks independent, audited verification. While it represents an impressive anecdote of short-term conversion, an immediate influx of sudden orders can actually severely strain a micro-enterprise's unskilled supply chain if they aren't fully equipped for the surge. So, it remains a singular event, not a reliable sector-wide metric of sustained economic health.
Distinguishing between short-term attention and verifiable business milestones is absolutely critical to this analysis. Viral visibility relies heavily on unpredictable social media engagement algorithms, company-reported demand spikes, and single-event celebrity wear. Durable expansion, however, requires a completely different set of metrics. Those metrics include verified international wholesale stockists, physical retail footprints, and recurring client commissions. Concrete evidence of this durable expansion does exist in specific cases, such as Fanci Club's confirmed retail placements in major, highly curated international luxury retailers like Sensei and Printemps. This type of institutional backing actually guarantees seasonal revenue and signals true industry integration far beyond a fleeting viral post.
And finally, Section 5, Constraints and Future Indicators.
Academic research identifies several deep structural constraints that completely separate a viral fashion moment from a scalable, internationally competitive industry shift. Independent micro-enterprises face highly restricted access to banking capital and investment. And, as established by the macroeconomic data, the industry relies heavily on imported raw fabrics, which inevitably increases costs and lead times for young designers. Furthermore, there's currently a lack of centralized, state-backed cultural export infrastructure, things like government-funded creative agencies or International Fashion Week subsidies, that countries like South Korea have utilized heavily to export their cultural products. These elements create complex international shipping logistics and significant scaling bottlenecks for emerging designers trying to meet global demand.
All of these structural constraints ultimately create a scorecard of unresolved unknowns. Sector-wide scale is currently difficult to measure due to limited private company data, mainly because independent, privately held design studios are not required to publish comprehensive financials the way large public manufacturing corporations are. Crucial missing variables for analyzing the true health of the industry include the total overseas revenue generated exclusively by Vietnamese-owned original design labels, the true average commercial conversion rate of these celebrity placements across the entire sector, the repeat customer retention rate after a viral spike fades, and, importantly, the survival rate of labels that operate entirely outside the few highly visible successful case studies.
So, what future evidence will definitively demonstrate a structural industry transformation? Well, the established facts show that K-pop styling is an undeniable catalyst for visibility, providing a powerful global discovery channel for independent designers. However, true sector-wide transformation remains quite uncertain. A lasting shift from a manufacturing center to a global design culture will only be proven by sustained retail relationships, supply chain independence, stronger domestic design infrastructure, and durable brand equity that no longer relies solely on individual celebrity appearances. Ultimately, the data poses a critical question. Will these independent labels harness this viral momentum to rewrite the infrastructure of Vietnam's apparel economy, or will they remain brilliant but isolated moments on the global timeline?